Hey guys and gals, welcome to another episode of Comics and Sweet Tea. We got an awesome show planned for you as always. Awesome creator. Welcome back. It's good to have all you here tonight. Um, a lot of things going on within old school comics. Finishing up the latest book. I'll be getting that out to the backers here pretty soon. As soon as I get through with letters, guys, got to knock out those things. And one final edit, and then it's off to get a proof. And we should have this thing in less than a month. You should be looking at your books. So it's been a journey, but I thank you for being patient and helping us get there as always. Um, if you're new to the show, hey, subscribe. Trying to grow this thing out, and we can't do that without you guys. Be sure and tell a friend about the show. Hey, give us a thumbs up. YouTube's just like everything else; it has algorithms too. So, and hey, leave a comment, join the conversation. If you got a question for either one of us, drop that in there, and we'll get back to you. That's a fact. I love it when people interact with us, and I know how I was coming up, and when I was younger, I would have done anything just about it to talk to my favorite creator. So if you got any questions for the man I got tonight, be sure and drop those in the comments, and we'll get them answered. But anyway, without further ado, I've rambled on way too much. You're not here for me. I've got Nicholas Friesen with talking about his project, Olivia C. So without further ado, let me get Nick in here and he'll tell us all about it.
Hey,
Such
Jeff.
an awesome pleasure to have you on, Nick. I reached out, man, with all the hopes in the world, and you came through for me, buddy. I appreciate you coming on.
Anytime, man. Yeah. Like I was telling you just before we popped on here, I've checked out the show before, and I say I feel like we travel in kind of similar like
Yeah.
comics friend circles and maker circles and stuff. So it was inevitable that we would be having this conversation, sir. But yeah, no, thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to come and talk about these funny books that we're making here.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, just being able to say that we create funny books, it's an awesome privilege. I grew up with these things. I'm sure you grew up with these things. I mean, it was a big part of my life coming up, and I consider it one of the the great things to be able to give back and to actually make my own. It's such an awesome privilege, and I consider it a privilege that people allow us, and fund on Kickstarter and allow us to
Mhm.
bring these things to life. So without further ado, tell me about Olivia C. Man, I've seen a lot of the posts. I'm totally intrigued. Want to know everything about it.
Yeah, so the project before it was a comic book, this project started out as it was just an idea. It was a character that I came up with about 10 years ago, actually. And I started kind of drawing her and putting her on like if someone asked me like, okay, can you draw a poster for my band? We're playing a show, I'd work
Right.
Olivia C onto there. And then I wrote a short story kind of based around Olivia C. I wrote a song in my band at that time
Oh, wow.
called Olivia C. And the character, like the lore of the character, like just kind of started to grow a little bit in the background, and people would
Gotcha.
say, like, well, who's this red-haired girl with the bangs and the freckles? And I'd say, oh, that's Olivia. And I don't know what I'm doing with her yet. I used to make a lot of short films and stuff like that too. And so I was like, maybe I'll do it as a film. And then I kind of got into the world of hand-drawn animation for a little bit, and I would do
Oh,
music
wow.
videos. Yeah, I got hired to do some very cool music videos for some incredible artists. And I was like, well, maybe I'll write it as something like that, do an animated short or a series of shorts or something like that. And this one day, me and my buddy Andy, who he's got a great band called Great Wealth, they just put out an EP last week, actually. And so Andy and I, we were jamming one day. We were just testing out some new recording equipment. We'd never jammed before, but we're both musicians. We were just like, I was on bass and he was on drums, and then we'd switch and just kind of flesh out a song. As we had these like 6 or 7 instrumentals. We didn't know what to do with them. And they sat there for a while because we each had our own projects. And I said, Andy, what if these are Olivia C's songs? And he's like, oh, that's a fun idea. And so then it became, let's find a singer. And
Yeah.
so we talked to a few different singers. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, geographical center of Canada. So we were just talking to other local singers, and they were all just kind of like, like, I already have a project. I don't want to confuse my project with that one. And it's a weird, like when you pitch people on it, you're like, well, it's kind of like Gorillas or Gem and the Holograms. Like
Right. Right.
it's a cartoon band. And, we got these 5 songs, and I've written the lyrics, and I'm looking for someone to put some vocals down. And then I was like, well, if there's going to be a component where we're making these shorts or this animation or whatever that goes with it, maybe we find an actress who can sing. And there's a woman named Olivia Ulrich, coincidental name, but I knew her from the University of Winnipeg Film and Theater Department. And I just kind of cold called her, and I was like, I got this weird idea. And she was totally game. And so we released the first EP. It got some good play, it got some good buzz. And then we brought in my friend Matt Powers to play drums on the second batch of tunes, the second EP. And the thing just kind of started rolling, like,
Took on a life of its own. I got
yeah,
you.
exactly. So, put out some records and made some animated music videos. And we did one called I Choo Choo Choose You. And then I did it like Simpsons style. So like
Oh, wow.
real old school, like hand-drawn anime. So it looked like season 3 type of thing,
That's
Um,
really cool.
yeah, so we had a lot of fun with that. And then I kept kind of chipping away at the like doing it as an animated film. And the pandemic happens, and I was getting more and more back into comic collecting, as so many of us did over that
Yeah.
pandemic. I mean, I grew up with books. Like, I gotta tell you, my very first book was, remember those, like, they'd take like 6 or 10 issues of like Amazing Spider-Man and put them just in like a digest size.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I
I
remember
found that
that.
at a garage sale. That was my first comic ever. And collected up until I was like 15 or so, and then got very into girls. So kind of, we put the comics and the action figure collecting on the back burner. And but yeah, I'd started getting back more and more. And I was also like, I was getting hired a little bit more and more to do art for other people, like I say, with these music videos and all this hand-drawn stuff. And I had all these insecurities about, like, well, I do it by hand, I pencil and I ink by hand and I color
Yeah.
digitally. And I was seeing so many people were doing comics digitally. And I said, you know what, like, maybe that's not what people want right now. They don't want the old school vibe. But then I started, because people were releasing books over the pandemic, and they were doing live streams. Like, the one that really clicked in for me was, there's this Canadian cartoonist named Joe Ullman, and he's put out books with Drawn and Quarterly and Conundrum. And he was just doing like a live stream launch, and he's like on Instagram, he's going around his studio, and he's like, yeah, here's the pages and blah blah blah, and it was all this. And I was just like, right, yeah, indie comics.
Yeah.
Everyone's still going by hand with indie comics. And it was just like, for whatever reason. And then, you start watching cartoonist kayfabe, and you start getting like heavy into the world. And so my wife says to me, like, take the assets that you've already made for this animated project and maybe turn it into a comic book or graphic novel.
Right.
And so we have Olivia C. multimedia project. See, it's not a short answer, Jerry. You didn't know what you were opening with this can of worms, man.
I love it though, man. Everybody has got their own way in,
Yeah.
and you never, just like you talked about, you did short films and you did animation. Everybody, I mean, we come from all walks of life, and it's amazing because everybody has their own story into this. We're all headed to the same place,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to hear about the journey. You know what I'm saying? And this is just fascinating, man. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's one of those projects too. And I mean, like, the character herself and the story itself, it's a lot of my stuff, like a lot of dealing with anxiety and friendships as an adult. And she's a musician and things like that. And she kind of, the story of the series anyway, she skips town and she leaves Winnipeg and she goes to Portland, Oregon to meet up with a friend who ends up joining that band. And they kick out the singer of that band and they become, you know, mortal enemies. So it's kind of like
Oh,
it's
wow.
equal parts superhero satire, equal parts realist drama set in, you know, a realist world. But she's also got a robot named 4-Track, who's an audio recorder who she makes all of her demos with. So yeah, like you got to ground it in reality a little bit.
Right, right.
But yeah, it's a fun book and it's a serious book and it's a very silly book. And I think that it walks a line, like the way I describe it, like tonally, it's kind of like Degrassi. Like
Okay.
it's a
Yeah.
little silly, it's a little smart, it's a little funny, it's deadly serious at moments. You kind of don't know which way it's going to go, but so yeah, there's 8 issues of that out right now through my own imprint, In Service, which is also my record label that put out a bunch of stuff with. But now partnering with Lesser Known Comics, and we're reissuing all the issues so that people in the States can get them a little easier. And then, you know, working on like we're putting together an anthology with Lesser Known. It's a music anthology. I got a few other books on the back burner. They're going to be coming out this year. So I'm trying to stay out of trouble, Jerry. That's all this is, man.
Hey, it sounds like it, man. It sounds like your plate is extremely full, almost to the point of running over.
It is, dude. Like I got a full-time gig. I'm on the board of the Winnipeg show here in Winnipeg. It's called the Prairie Comics Festival. It's like the big indie comics show.
Yeah.
I'm on the board there. I produce a podcast about Winnipeg history. Like I don't know when I find the time, to be quite honest, but you got to find the time to do the things you love and to talk about it with friends new and old. And I don't know, man. It's just you sit on your hands and you wonder, oh, can I do this? Can I do that? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, just do it. Like,
Exactly. You hit it on the head right there. Just do it. Don't think about it. Don't talk about it. You know, I've done that for 40 some odd years, you know, with my project. And it took my daughter basically kicking me in the ass and saying, "You're not dead. You know, why not do it now?" I was like, "You got a damn good point." It's like,
yeah,
you're exactly right. Just do it.
You don't do
don't
it. No
think
one else will do it, right? So
somebody, I promise you, if you don't do it, you'll regret the rest of your life because somebody is going to come along and do it. So it might as well be us, you know. Exactly. So you've got a band. Do you? And obviously, do you tour? Or?
No, yeah, I've been in bands, and the last band I was in was a band called Future Kids, and
Okay.
we did okay. You know, we charted across Canada, and we had a couple of we had a hit in Australia, weirdly. But
Hey, that's still, you're an international music star, man. International music star.
But yeah, so I haven't been in a band for a few years, right? And I said to myself, what do I like about being in a band? I like to write and record songs. I like to hang out with my friends. I like to make music videos and stuff. And so that's what the Olivia C band is all about, right? It's just kind of like once a year we get together, maybe twice a year, record a couple tunes, we hang out. You know, maybe we're all in the same room together, maybe we're not, but it's also a spontaneous musical project, right? So
Right.
I've got lyrics and some like loose form of, you know, maybe a demo or something like that, or maybe Andy's put together a demo for the song, but we all just kind of sit down and it becomes very free form and very improvisational, but 1 or 2 takes and we've got a tight little like pop rock song. Like it's about finding the right like-minded people to do something like this, because
Right.
I've been in bands where the drummer needs 30 takes to get it just so. Whereas Matt can get it just so right off the bat, and he's also comfortable enough to trust his gut and to just jam and just do it. So that's a big part of it. And then yeah, like we've got a few. I just put out the new EP, House of Cooper, by Olivia C. It's, you know, on your Bandcamp and Spotify and all that stuff. So yeah, you can look up Olivia C on any streaming service. And I also
I have to check that out because I knew it was a music-based comic, but I didn't know you had actually cut tracks. That's outstanding, man. I love that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and then all the songs, they're also in the books, right? Like, so sometimes it's a whole splash page with
Of
lyrics.
just, that's
Sometimes
a
it's
really
just
good take on it. Yeah.
a couple lines here and there. But I've had people tell me that they actually like sat down with the book and went through and got on the Spotify and like played the songs along while they were reading to get that type of thing. So I mean, you can just listen to the music, you can be a fan of the music, you can just read the book, you can do both. But yeah.
That's man, I'm telling you, it's usually hard to surprise me because I've seen a lot of shit in my lifetime, but that is just incredible, man. I absolutely love it. I do. So tell me this.
Mm.
You mentioned the animation, you mentioned short film. What would you like to see if Olivia transfers over to something else? Like, say Netflix comes knocking on the door tomorrow and says, "Hey, we want to make this into an animated series, or we want to make this into a live action series." Which direction would you go with Olivia?
I mean, the my animation style, it's very old school Hanna-Barbera. And so
Love
it's
that style though, and that
me too,
style is
right?
making a comeback.
Yeah, like and you see like a lot of Adult Swim stuff kind of has that vibe and everything. And so it's like it's one of those parts of me that's like I would love to see it like done right and done well, like the
Right,
way that like a new show like X-Men 97 takes that old school vibe but does it with new animation,
right.
and marries the two worlds. Like it would have to look like something 80s or 90s if it was animation. But then again, you know, I'd love to see it go like a Scott Pilgrim route and go live action.
You read my mind. I was fixing to ask that question, man. If it
Yeah.
went a Scott Pilgrim route. Yep.
Yeah, I'm, huge Scott Pilgrim fan, as many of us are. Like, I think when book 3 came out, that's when I got into it.
That-
Um, because I was just like, what is that? Like, I remember seeing the ad and it was like the Super Mario Brothers 3 vibe. It was like
Mhm.
an homage or something. And I was like, what is this? And my buddy's like, oh, this book's about you. It's about a 24-year-old bass player who cuts his own hair. And I was like, that is me, like at the time. I mean, I'm 41 now, but yeah, so I very much connected with that character. And then yeah, following that along and watching Brian Lee O'Malley's career just explode, and seeing Edgar Wright make a film out of that. I mean, if it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I want to keep my thing, but I was also like, I don't know, I'm the only person who's like drawn and written Olivia, and I've brought in other people obviously to make the music and stuff.
Right.
So I'm obviously would be open to collaborate and to get it into the right hands. And if Netflix did come a call, and I'd be like, yeah, like let's bring this to life, because it's like marrying of the music and the art. And it's just like, yeah, you can experience one way, but it's really meant to be, on a screen. Like, you want to hear and feel these songs and have someone performing it. Yeah, I think about that all. You daydream, man.
Oh
What
God,
my
yeah.
character did this, like. So yeah, that'd be insane. That'd be awesome.
That's incredible, man. So tell me this.
Mm.
How do you balance all this, man? Because you're a family man. You got kids, right? I mean, how
Uh,
do you
no
no
kids.
kids? Okay.
I got a wife and a dog. My dog is basically my kid, but yeah,
Hey,
no.
that counts. That counts. I've got one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that definitely counts. It's like having a little toddler running around all the time.
Yeah.
So how do you balance it all? I mean, what I almost went through burnout like last year. I was working on a book, and I mean, it really got me to thinking about it. And I ask everybody on the show now, pretty much, what do you do? Because I mean, I had to take a step back and reevaluate everything because I was putting too much of myself into the book. It was taken away from my family.
Yeah.
Even my job has suffered from it a little bit because I'm the type of person, I know you are too. I can tell just by talking to you. You go all in on something, and especially this passion project because it sounds like this is definitely your baby. So you don't want to give anything but your best. So how do you work around life, work, project? I mean,
It's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
with this Olivia project, like I say, it's been going on for 10 years, and finding the right mode to tell this story took its time. I went through so many different drafts of a script and different, like, it's this long, and then you trim it down to just this, and then that little bit becomes a part of, like, that's issue 4, like just a little bit of what I wrote in 2012. It's still those little pieces stick in there. So it's just, sometimes things take time. And I'm also someone, like, I've worked in journalism as well, where you
Oh,
really got to, like, kill your
yeah.
darlings, and you got a deadline, and you got to
Right.
say good enough and crank it out. So sometimes it is just about good enough, crank it out. But with this has been my baby. This whole thing has taken me, like, I've probably been working on what has become 9 issues of Olivia C, which is essentially 2 graphic novels. I got a black and white. The first 3 issues are black and white, and that's
Okay.
its own thing. And that's about 100 pages. That's going to be collected, and then 140 pages of full color. And I'm like 14 pages away from being done that, but I've been serializing it as single issues, about 20
Right.
pages each, right? And
Right.
so getting it out into little increments and going and, like, touring and doing shows. Like last year, I did 4 or 5 shows in the spring in different cities. Not touring anywhere this year. Like, you got to take that year off in between and, like,
Yeah.
make some new stuff and take a breath. And but yeah, so I would say the best thing, because yeah, like, I have burned out from doing too much with jobs, and it's like you get to the point where, because a lot of people come to me with, oh yeah, like I'm doing a series of children's books, illustrating them with this local writer as well, and I'm just about to start the 3rd one, and I almost said no, but it's just like, I'd feel I wouldn't want someone else to, like, continue it, because it's kind of like in my look and my style. And so I said, okay, like, I can budget it in at this point. And it's about time budgeting and time management and
Yeah.
setting goals and setting deadlines, and also about not being hard on yourself if you miss or have to take a day to just veg out and watch YouTube or binge The
Right.
Wire or whatever, right? Like, I mean, sometimes you just have to do nothing. And when you realize that rest is as important as the work, then you're able to flip that switch. But yeah, I've had to cut things out. Like, over the pandemic, started 2 podcasts and ended one, and produce one. So the 2 women who host that one, they do their thing. They come down to my basement and we record once a month, and we do that thing, and that's fun, and I like that. And it's also a popular podcast that people actually listen to, so it's worth the time. You also
Right.
have to manage, like, is this worth my time? If I'm going to be spending X amount of time doing a comic book or doing an animated music video for somebody, well, if it takes me a week or a month or 4 months, the longest animated video took me 4 months. I rotoscoped it, and it was insane, but it took 4 months. And it's like, okay, does the person who's hiring me to do that, do they have the right budget? Am I budgeting my time? Like, I mean, with comics, it's so hard, because you're if you do hook up with a publisher, then you're hoping just to get your printing costs covered. In
Right.
Canada, you can apply for arts grants, which might cover a component of it. It might color just the writing of it or the coloring of it, but you're never going to get 50 grand to make your 200-page graphic novel. Like,
Right.
unless you're Chester Brown or Seth or somebody, right? Like,
Yeah.
who's gets the government of Canada grants and stuff like that. So it's about budgeting your time and making sure that it's worth your time, and also spending your time with your wife and your family and your friends. You have to do that. Like, I've taken to, like, a couple of hours on a Saturday or a Sunday. Like, I like the Sunday afternoon. It's like, okay, I'm just going to go down to my little studio. I'm going to do my drawing for a bit, and just, that's my zen. That's my zoning out, where I put on a podcast, put on my tunes, whatever, and do that. And it also helps a lot that I do have a wife who is, she's also a creative. She's a journalist. She's a columnist. She's a brilliant writer. And the fact that we've paid our mortgage with creativity, like, my day job is in marketing and communications, and I've been working in that field for a decade now. So it is kind of wild that through freelance and through the day job, I've been able to pay for a house and our living and a car and things like that. And I also have a day job where I've had day jobs where they get kind of angry that you do other stuff
Yeah.
outside. They're like, oh, you should be putting all of your creative energy
Right.
into what we're doing. Whereas I'm working at this nonprofit, and not only do they like my art, they're excited when I go off to Toronto and do a comic show. They're excited for me, and they also got me to do a comic book for the job
That's
about the
awesome.
services that we
Yeah.
do there. And I do all the like illustrations for our social media and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm after a lot of years of a lot of nonsense and struggling, Jerry, like to be honest, like it's not always good and it's not always easy and it hasn't been, but like I'm finally like hitting a stride, man,
And
where
yeah, it sounds like you're in that zone, man. You finally, all the hard work is paid off, and you
I'm
just like you said, you're in your stride now. Everything is just that's awesome, man. I love to hear that.
thanks, man.
Yeah, my job, I work offshore on a drilling rig,
Oh
12
yeah,
to
yeah.
14 hours a day. So that takes, and I'm gone for 21 straight days, but I'm home for 21 days at a time. So during that 21 days off, I can do whatever I want to. So I split that time up between my family and the comics and everything. Because when I'm out there, I mean, I got to be 100% focused on that. It takes everything.
Yeah.
So, but
That's
yeah,
like life
that's
and death work, man. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah. It can get interesting to say the least. But yeah. So anyway, we've talked about your aspirations for Olivia. Um, we've talked about balancing, everything. Um, let's see if Kickstarter. Have any of these hit Kickstarter, or you just went straight and self published?
Yeah, I just self-published, doing short runs at a time, and really like, yeah, I have an online store like a big cartel, but
Okay,
really focusing on tabling at the shows and getting it into people's
gotcha.
hands. And it's also because we have the music component of it. I mean, that's out there doing its own thing, trying to
Right.
reach its own audience. Um, so there's that component. And I mean, this anthology that I put together with Mark and Lesser Known. It's called The Set List. It's a music comic anthology, and we were going to go Kickstarter. And I said to Mark, like, because Lesser Known's kind of moving away from Kickstarters,
Yeah.
I said, "What do you think of this, man? Like, because we're doing more pre-sales and stuff just through the Lesser Known website." And he was just like, "Yeah, man. Like, I'm kind of tapping out on Kickstarter. Like, there's so many of them going on right now, and it's just
It's
getting a little harder."
insane. It really is.
Yeah. And I've done Kickstarters for films in the
Yeah.
past and animated projects, and you reach your audience in a different way, and it's all like I would never slam those if you want to do those, but I think that the market is probably really flooded right now,
Yeah.
and the way that algorithms on all the social media platforms are working, and they're kind of not letting content leave Instagram. They want you to stay there, so maybe they're hiding posts about Kickstarters, maybe they're not, maybe it's just harder to be seen in general on these platforms. But I'm very happy to have my little like friend and fan base and other creators, and it's like, yeah, like meeting guys like yourself, like, just online, but also like going and tabling in Montreal and meeting people from all like, here's a guy from New York, here's someone from Toronto, here's someone from Saskatoon, whatever. And we're all in this together and we're all trading ideas and
Right.
stories and getting dinner together after and stuff. Like that's what this is. This comics community
Oh,
is incredible. It is. I've been in the music community, I've been in the film community, the comics community that I've experienced is the best community.
it's amazing, man. It really is. Some of the people I've had the privilege to meet in my little time in the industry are just absolutely amazing, man. Just incredible folks. Like Mark, for instance. That guy is. He's just a super individual. Well, he you know how he is.
You talk about someone doing a million things.
Oh God,
Mark
man,
is
the
juggling
dude
a
is
million things, and
he's spinning so many plates, it's
yeah,
insane.
he's got so much vision too for what we can do with Lesser Known. Every time we hop on the biweekly call, it's just like,
Yeah,
okay, like yeah, I'm down, I'm on board, man. You've sold me. So yeah,
yeah.
it's the right type of publisher. I mean, I I've been querying and pitching other publishers, and I've gotten some rejections, and it's it's fine. But like I did a cover and a story in Brandon Blocksdorf's punk anthology last year.
Okay,
That was
yeah,
my introduction. I was working with Brandon on that, and that was my intro to Lesser Known. And I was like, this is a good vibe. This is kind of the right
yeah.
vibe that I'm looking for. Um,
Brandon's super too, though. I
yeah,
mean,
he's
he
he's
really is.
hilarious.
Just
Yeah, he's a
super
good dude.
chill, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, love that guy. Yeah, so it's this incredible community that we're forming here, and just really diverse creators as well, right? Like, I
Oh
mean, there's there's so many different types of stories being told through lesser known comics, and so many different art styles, and people from there's a few of us Canadians and a bunch of American. Even like the submissions I got for this my music anthology, there's people like from all over the world that
oh yeah.
found this thing. So it's silly.
It's
It's crazy.
insane, man. It really is. When you just sit down and you look at it, it's just incredible, though. I mean, you know, the last Kickstarter I did, I shipped to like 8 different countries, and that just blows my mind. Every time I just sit down and really think about it, I sent books to Athens and Costa Rica and just Ireland, the UK, you name it. I pretty much sent books there, and it staggers the imagination. A little old country boy from Mississippi would have books going out all over the world. It boggles my mind when I really take the time to appreciate it. You know,
It is, and it is one fan at a time, one reader at a time, right? Like
really is.
that's the business that we're in, and it feels so good. Like if someone orders something online, I'm writing a note, and I'm throwing in some stickers, I'm doing all sorts
Exactly.
of stuff. If someone takes the time to come by my table at a show and just even listen to my pitch and hear me talk about it, and like they might not buy something, but then I see they followed me on Instagram or something, and it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, like that's someone that
You
I've
got your
connected with.
foot in the door. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got your foot in the door.
But I mean, it feels even better when they buy every issue and a cassette tape,
Yeah,
right? So
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the thing too with music is that like you can make physical versions of it. So I print tapes and I print CDs, and nothing on wax yet, no vinyl because that's still a little pricey. But yeah,
I got you. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to check out the songs now, because I mean, who doesn't love music, man? And I'm one of those individuals. If it sounds good, I dig it. I don't care about genres. If it's got a good sound, whether it be rock, country, rap, gospel, whatever it is, I'm gonna listen to it if I like it. Period.
let's yeah, like I mean, if you're a fan of music, then you can't just like one genre. Like you're gonna like
Right.
different songwriting styles and different production
Exactly.
styles, and like I can listen to Notorious B.I.G. and Dinosaur Jr. and
Exactly.
I could
That's a
even
deep cut, man, and I love it. I love Dinosaur Jr.
oh, so
And,
good. I've beat them
yeah.
a few times. They're so good.
Oh
Um,
wow.
but I also love the new Olivia Rodrigo record, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not a teenage girl, but it just
Right.
it reminds me of Liz Phair or some other like 90s rocker or something, but she's a great songwriter, she's a great performer. And if a song is a good song, you could do it in any genre. Like you can take Jolene
Yeah.
by Dolly Parton and well, maybe not Beyonce doing Jolene. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a lot of blowback on that, but I mean, hell, I
She's
liked
trying
it. Yeah,
something.
yeah. She
Yeah.
took a swing,
Yeah. You never fault someone for taking a swing, man. Like that's the thing too. Is
Exactly. And if
look,
Dolly was good with it, what? Who are we to say anything about it? You
and
know?
meanwhile, Dolly put out a metal record last year or 2 years ago, right? So
Yeah,
she's trying something new too. And I've seen her
exactly.
in concert, and she's incredible still to this day. But yeah, man, no, I'm a music fan. I'm a comic fan.
Right.
I'm finally just doing all the things that like, what's your dream project? Well, with all of these things available to you, now you can do your
You
dream
can
project
do it.
and find
Exactly.
an audience for it. And you got to work to find that audience. You can't just drop it on Bandcamp and hope somebody Googles it, because that's never going to
Right,
happen.
right. You got to push your stuff. You have to push your stuff for sure. I've got to do more cons with my work. It's kind of hard, but I try to schedule something when I am home. Talking about that balance again. It's easy to get out of whack, and I don't want to do that again. But yeah, when I get ready to come up to the Great North, I got an inside man now, so
You do,
I'll be
man.
hitting you up, man.
You always got a coach here, Jerry. So that's
Appreciate it, buddy.
yeah. No,
I
there's a bunch of
appreciate it.
really good shows in Canada. There's big shows in Toronto and Montreal,
Yeah.
Vancouver, Winnipeg. Our shows are getting bigger too. So yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I mean, it's really blowing up, man. Which I think indie comics in general is blowing up. It's like it's a whole new renaissance again. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, people, you know, the big two are kind of doing their own thing, and they kind of lost touch with the public. I think they pretty much they cashed in on these projects, and they went all in on the movies, and they went all in on animation, and they're basically just painting by numbers with the books. That's the way I take it anyway. There's
Yeah,
still a few good projects out there. Don't
there
get
are.
me
Like,
wrong.
I still got Daredevil on my pull list. I still pick up a lot
Yeah,
of new Batman books, but those are characters I've loved my whole life. So I'm kind of
exactly.
always gonna. But I'm also like, I've loved the Turtles my whole life, and I'm still picking up new Turtle books, and they're some of the
Yeah,
best books they've ever put out. So like, and yeah, like all this, Image stuff, like the new Transformers book, like it has no reason to be the best book on the
no,
shelves, but it's incredible.
it
Uh,
is.
so
What'd you think about the new Thundercats, man?
Oh, I haven't read the new Thundercats yet. But I am
Oh
a
my
Thundercats
God,
guy.
it
Is
looks
it good?
incredible. Yes,
Yeah.
check it out.
Okay.
Druder Moss, he did the art. It's oh man, that's next level. Hey, chef's kiss. I mean, it's you got to check it out.
Nice.
If
Yeah,
you
no.
ever cared, you mentioned Transformers. I figured Thundercats would be in that same vein too.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're living in exciting times, man. They're actually finally talking about they have a director attached to a live action Thundercats.
Okay. Wow.
So
Yeah.
we'll see how that all plays out. But
It's something that can definitely work live action, especially
definitely
like even just doing some like really simple prosthetics or something like to create the.
right.
And I mean,
It
yeah,
can
like
be done.
think about Mumra as like something like just larger than life,
Hmm.
and just with all everything float, like, man, yeah, it'd be so good. Or like I'd love to see like an animatronic snarf, not a CG
Oh,
snarf, like
right. Yeah,
maybe augmented with
yeah.
CG, but like,
Even like a puppet. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it could be. You could go Yoda style with it, and it could be really cool.
I think that what gets lost with a lot of these, like,
They go overboard with CGI now, to
they
me
go overboard,
personally.
and they're trying to take a an IP that we grew up loving and introduce it to a new audience. And I understand that because eventually we will die. And there will be no Thundercats fans, there will be no G.I. Joe fans unless they introduce them to a younger generation.
Right.
But when you make the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes movie that came out a few years ago that I had, and I'm like, for me, it's like Star Wars and Ninja Turtles and G.I. Joe. Those are like the holy trinity of toys for me. And
Yeah.
when you make a G.I. Joe movie that I have absolutely no interest in seeing because you've changed the character of Snake Eyes
So much.
so much that it's Snake Eyes in name
I
only.
still have yet to watch that movie.
No, me neither. And I don't know what they're. It just makes something that and in that same vein, the Gem and the Holograms movie, like that's a show that my sister grew up, had all the dolls, had everything. I got 10 seconds into that movie with my sister, and I was just like, nah. Like they've tried to
Yeah.
change it so much that she's like a YouTube star, and it's just like,
You've
well,
lost everything. You've lost the essence of what it ever was.
yeah, just make it fun and make it campy, and give us, if you're gonna make a GI Joe movie, just take the same team, same uniforms,
Yep.
same like, and just have them go on crazy adventures.
Don't have to spruce it up. You don't need a whole bunch of CGI. I mean,
Yeah.
do some good action sequences, throw some good fight choreography in there, and just run with it. You know, that's what everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
Shipwreck and Duke and
Yeah.
Flint, and I mean, just go with it. Lady J. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
There's so many great characters that each of them could, and now they're doing it with the comics. Each of them is kind of
Yeah,
getting their own mini series, right? Like we've got a Duke and a Cobra Commander, and then I think that there's either a Scarlet or a Lady J coming up next or something. So, yeah, I'm on board, man. Like they're getting me back into shops picking up new books instead of
yeah,
just back issues, you know. So it's great.
definitely.
Like that, and then all of the like new graphic novels that are more indie books and stuff like that. Like
Right.
that I love, and those are, you know, yeah, you go to a regular bookstore, and then all of the indie books that are coming out through all the great like indie, like real indie publishers that aren't like that don't even have book distribution in a store or anything. Like, so you gotta like order off people's, you know, Etsy page or Big Cartel or
Right.
Instagram or whatever. Like that's it's such a great time, and we can really like pick and choose. The only problem is that there's so much that like
Yeah, it's
I
hard.
go out.
Yeah, just it's like channel surfing with all these streaming. Now, I'll sit there, man. It'll take me 45 minutes to an hour going through the streamers. Well, okay, I'm looking at 500 things. What of this do I want to watch?
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to watch something I've seen 15 times anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to hit an old classic every
Yep.
time.
It's like, because you don't want to waste your time on something that's not going to be good. And
Right.
it's the same with like, and that's the other thing too, is like the brand recognition of G.I. Joe or something, right? But it's, you know, we also have to bring in new stories and new characters and new brands and trying to build something up from scratch. And that's the thing too. Like, I don't want to go off on a rant about like going to shows and stuff, but all these people, most indie shows, they don't allow fan art, but
Oh,
people are
wow.
still coming in and doing like, here's my Sailor Moon, here's my Spider-Man, here's my Baby Yoda, all this stuff. And it's like, I love all these characters too, but you're giving yourself into an IP that you don't even own. And yes, it's like a
Exactly.
band doing a cover song trying to bring in a new audience or something, but
Right.
at least if you're going to be doing fan art,
Do
put your
your own
own,
fan art. Yeah.
yeah, like, or bring your original characters. Like I got an Olivia C mashup with Akira, you know, on a
Right.
sticker
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah, so like mash up your sort of like, I do a lot of homage covers, and people, it blows my mind. There was like a 5-year-old girl who walked up to my table and she points at Olivia C issue 3 and she goes, "That's an Archie reference." And I
Wow.
was like, "Yes, it is." It was you know, the Cheryl Blossom where they're fighting. Yeah, I was just like, "Holy
Incredible, man.
cow!" And other people are getting like, "Oh yeah, that's a Love and Rockets reference, or that's a Spider-Man reference," but this little girl got an Archie reference,
Wow.
and I was blown away. So
No doubt. I would have been too. They'd have had to pick me up off the floor.
it's so cool. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, use a little bit of a reference to get people in the door and to say like, if you like this, maybe you'll like that. But if I'm walking around at a show and I'm just seeing a whole giant display filled with your, you know, Akira fan art or whatever, and I'm just like, yeah,
Right.
that's
Why
good.
would I
But
bother with your stuff? Yeah, you don't
yeah,
even bother with your stuff. I get you
exactly.
exactly. Yeah,
So, and I mean, I don't want to come down on an artist, but just like take a chance on yourself. That's what I'm saying,
exactly.
is take a chance on yourself and your own ideas, because you've got good ideas. If you have the fortitude and the tenacity to actually sit down and make all of those and draw this
Right.
character that you love, then you've definitely got a character in your head that you also love, that you're afraid to put out there. So just do it. Even just make a little 8-page mini comic or something. Like
Yeah,
put it up on you know, some sort of free comics platform or something that people can
like
scroll.
global or something. Go on Global Comics or
Yeah,
something like
Global
that.
Comics or whatever. Yeah, like there's all these ways to get it out there and to find a community. But I would love it. I've looked at all this art from all these people, and it's like I follow a lot of people too on Instagram, and it's just like, yeah, like, you know, just make your own art. Like, you're a great artist, but just please make your own character, or I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know. I want people to succeed. That's all I'm saying.
exactly. Hey, I hear exactly what you're saying, and you know, people give the man a lot of shit, but Todd McFarlane, I'm gonna bring him up. Hey, when he went with Spawn, he went all in, man. Nobody had a clue what this thing was, and he could care less. He went all in, and I
Yep.
mean, look what it's become, and it's still going.
300 plus issues, you know,
Yeah,
longest running indie book.
ever.
This is a guy, he's also Canadian, right? He was born in
Yeah,
Calgary. He was a high school baseball star, gets
yep.
injured, winds up working as a janitor, marries his high school sweetheart. They're living in a trailer. He's sending out hundreds of
Submission,
applications. Just
crazy
yeah,
numbers of
so many
submissions.
submissions, you know, finally gets the okay, and he just never lets up. And now he's got, you know, a wildly profitable independent toy company that's been
Right.
going strong. Like, I remember getting my first Spawn action figure in junior high, you know, and being like, this doesn't look like any other toy that I have.
Yeah, that's
It's
he broke the mold, man. I
yeah,
mean, he he didn't let them put him in a box.
yeah,
Just even going back to the comics, they told him, "Oh, you got to draw the costume this way." He said, "No, I'm not. I'm going to do it this way."
yeah,
And it was selling so many copies. I was like, "Okay, you can do it that way, but you can't do this." And he's, "Okay, I'm going to do this." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess you can do that."
yeah.
And it just kept rolling. He was steamrolling with it.
And it's an iconic cover, you know, that
Yeah.
he's on his Spider-Man one. It's been on. I know he's mad he never got the T-shirt, but it's been on a million T-shirts, you know.
Oh
Like,
God, yeah,
and
man.
he's
God, yeah.
taken. I see you got your DC Multiverse guys. I got mine in the other room, you know. Like, it's
Right.
an incredible toy line. There's more Batmans than I could ever want,
Oh yeah.
and some of the best looking toys I've ever seen. And like, and he's, you know, always been that way with his stuff. And it's high quality and affordable,
Yep.
and it's like you see Hasbro putting out like a $400 Ghost Rider car that doesn't
It's
get funded,
insane, man.
and
Yeah.
Todd's like, oh, I'm gonna put on a Batmobile. Gonna be $80, $80 with a figure, you know. It's just like, yeah, I'll buy
You're
that.
right. Yeah, yeah. You get all the details in there.
Yeah,
That was always his selling point. He wants it. He'll make a tier of toys for everybody. You got the collectors, you got your average collector, and then you got kids. He's going to make sure something is affordable at every level. He is a marketing genius, man.
yeah, that's yeah. He's the guy that knew about marketing. Like, he
Yeah.
growing up, and you're seeing Stan Lee. Like, when I was a kid, I knew Stan Lee because yes, he's got the Stan soapbox in the back of the books, but also he's the narrator on the Spider-Man cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
So I know his voice. His voice is in my head when I'm reading comics. And
True
so
believers. Yeah.
yeah, so you have, you know, Rob Liefeld, and you have Todd, and you have all these guys that saw that and were like, I'm going to take it to the next level. And
Right.
I'm also going to be the brand and do these things. And now we're in a literal world of influencers where we all have to be our own brand and all these things. And I'm as much my character as my character is me, but the two have to live on their own,
Right.
and do their own thing. And that's, I don't know, man. It's so weird to be in a world right now where you're competing with everything. Like, it
Exactly.
isn't just other comics. So
Well, dude, I hate to end the show. We can honestly talk for hours. There's no doubt in my mind. But I think that is a good note to end on. Nick, it was such an absolute pleasure, man. I'm telling you, I can't wait till we do another show together. I
you know,
it's just absolutely fascinating. Loved it. Pitch yourself, man. Tell them where they can find your work.
yeah, you can follow me. I put it in there. Nickel Astronaut. Point with my finger that goes to there. Nickel Astronaut on all your social media channels. I do a little on YouTube. It's mostly just like recaps of shows I've gone to. I haven't touched the YouTube much lately, but if you want to see me on my adventures, going out of town doing shows, you can follow me on YouTube at Nickel Astronaut, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And my book is The Unpredictable Olivia C. Issue 8 is the next issue coming out. You can find me, just go to my website, nickelastronaut.wordpress.com, or you can go to oliviac.net, and you can find all of the Olivia C music all over. There's animated music videos on YouTube. You can find all the songs on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, wherever you find your music. You can download it on Bandcamp. Just type in Olivia C. or type in Nickel Astronaut into your Google search engine, and you will find me. And you can purchase physical books as well. You can read them online, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's I appreciate you taking the time, Jerry. I appreciate hanging
I
out with me.
appreciate you giving me the time, my friend. And hey, guys, jump out there, follow Nick on all this stuff. Check out all, I will have everything in the descriptions too. I'll have all the links to make it easy for you guys. Because I know you're just like I am. You're lazy sometimes. So all the links are going to be down here in the description. So you can jump on, and I took all the hard work out of it. So you guys get out there, support Nick, check out Olivia C, check out the music, support this band and everything that he goes to do. Such an absolute pleasure, Nick. Again, thank you so much for your time, guys. That's a show. You guys have a great rest of your night. Take it easy. Be back next week. That's it, guys.